Hey, we have returned. Let's start case number 58. I'm going to get to go to the next case for free. Inglorious Justice is the name of this case. Matthew, I'm worried sick about Catherine. I'm sure the resistance is working on a plan to break her out of jail, but what if they don't succeed? Then we'll help them. We aren't going to stand back and let Lawson execute his political opponents at the town square. Obviously not. However, we will have to use caution. If we openly defy Lawson, he'll disband the flying squad and send us to the gallows as well, and we'll be no help to anyone there. It is crucially important that we keep up appearances, now more than ever, which is why I want Matthew and Bontemps to go to the Justice Day celebration tonight. What? Justice Day is nothing but new propaganda from Lawson. Are we seriously supposed to go along with it? How can anyone feel like dancing in times like these? Lawson still has genuine supporters, and others are just too afraid to show dissent, with good reason. So the discussion's over. Matthew Bontemps, go to the party, and make sure you are seen. We must stay in the Justice Corps' good books. Justice flag, 1 shilling for a justice flag. Have a justice flag, officers. Happy Justice Day. Mayor Lawson shall never falter. Why, thank you, young man. Mayor Lawson shall never falter. Alright, Matthew, the chief told us to be seen. I suppose we should mingle. Matthew, this party is positively awkward if I say so myself. Everyone's feigning cheerfulness under the Justice Corps' watchful eyes. Can we go back to the airship now and write up our reports, please?
That's right. We have been investigating an allegation that Ms. Monroe...
Matthew, now that our reports are filed, what say you to a cup of tea before we call it a night? Matthew, you must go back to the town square. The party... My dear constable, the party's certainly over by now. No, you misunderstand. Someone at the party was murdered. Murdered? Botheration. So much for people being on their best behavior on Justice Day. You're right, Matthew. We better head back to the town square and see what this is all about.
Also afford paying me 50% over
I'll keep it in mind. Did you ever find out who Miss Monroe was messing with?
We saw her while preparing men's pants at a dry cleaners. Our guys tried to pick them up, but the cleaners blew them off. So you gotta go look at the pants, but not the guy that goes with them.
10.
Miss Monroe and her friend were very careful.
And your investigation had nothing to do
10
with
people,
the
10 hints that I immediately got.
The allegation against Miss Monroe.
And I think I see at least 2 clues, including the corpse. Crate of dishes.
The call came into our integrity hotline 10 months ago. The integrity reports on employee death. Talking about getting papers to vendors. The guy that's screwing around with Miss Monroe.
Perfect.
They both get fired. And the job, and the benefits. DNA. We have employees' DNA on file.
Already up to second.
Medical emergency.
Like what? A kidney transplant during off zones?
It's happened.
Matthew, Constable Ramirez was right. That young lady over there is dead. And I agree. Judging by the bruises on her neck, she must have been strangled. She must have been killed after everyone else had left the party. And with no one here to identify the victim, we must rely on our own wit to find out who she was. Shrewd deduction, Matthew. That pretty clutch lying right next to the body must have belonged to the victim. Opening it should help us identify her. And that crate full of dirty dishes could hide another clue. I propose we search for the contents. Matthew, looks like our night is only just beginning. We must solve this poor girl's murder. Let's get to it. And I need to get some stars. Sit tight, folks. Okay, I got myself 10 stars. This should be enough to finish this out. Finish out the clues anyway. Alright. Let's do this. Come on. Here we are. Pink scarf. Matthew, what is that fine garment doing under dirty dishes? A sharp eye. The pattern on the fabric matches the victim's blouse, so this scarf must belong to her as well. I agree, Matthew. We know the victim was strangled, and if she was strangled with this scarf, it would explain why the killer hid it. Let us dispatch the scarf to Viola and see what she makes of it. 3 hours. Of course, since I'm on holiday break from my work, I don't have to worry about school, and I don't have to worry about work. I'll work for another week anyway. 2, 5, 5, 2, 5. 5, 2, 4, 2, 4. There we are. One more. 8, 2, 5, 4, 8. There we are.
The moment you realize you have enough food for your guests.
Did I just get the 8?
At Lowe's, we have more appliances.
Yes, I did. Just in time. Don't drink and drive. Well, we know that for sure. Matthew, now that you've opened the victim's clutch, we may finally learn who she was. It appears there was no ID, but the victim carried a card. Let's see. Don't drink and drive. Sensible advice for a party, if you ask me. And you're right. The card also names a driving companion, one Martha Baker. Well, Matthew, this card didn't tell us who our victim was, but at least you know who was meant to drive her home from the party. Let's have Mrs. Baker tell us the rest.
It's made with more of the meat your dog desires. Blue Wilderness, because inside your dog lives the soul of a wolf. And Blue Wilderness comes in a variety of meat-rich recipes for dogs of all ages.
Hey guys, where are the cookies for the bake sale?
Unlike Ace, I share my coins because I want all the cars I can get. Mrs. Baker, we apologize for summoning you here in the middle of the night, but we need help. A young woman was murdered tonight, and in her handbag we found this card. My goodness! Poor Jane was murdered? Jane Pembroke, okay. We were neighbors. I waited for her at the end of the party in my automobile, but she never came. Now I know why. I am aghast at her death, Senior Trooper Matthew. I thought Concordia was safe, especially since Mayor Lawson clamped down on crime. Yes, well, as you can see, crime is still far from extinct. A crying shame. Jane Pembroke was a decent young woman who always appreciated my lemon pie. It's my personal specialty, you see. To think she left the telegraph office early to go to the party. Maybe she should have stayed at work. Jane was a telegraph girl in the office down the road from where the party was held, you know. The telegraph office? Senior Trooper Mathis shall follow this up. Thank you, Mrs. Baker. An officer will drive you back home.
You'll ask, what cold muscle? What headache? Nothing much.
try for star number 1.
Two dozen in the Federal Republic, half a dozen in police. Which saved Party Manufacturing.
Okay.
So the stuff was cheap. The perfect savings mark product.
These are published patents with a trip to China. He couldn't have known.
Foreign photograph.
But he knew about
Envelope.
it.
Medallion.
Keep his money.
Keys. Oh, that's a clue.
So savings marks in for variety.
2. 4 seconds on here.
As far as we can tell, there's nothing news. I checked with the FDA and the CDC.
So what was the company afraid Cahill would say? That America's favorite store almost poisoned its customers. But it didn't.
10,000.
You say Cahill bought 3 million tubes? Where are they?
Matthew, I used to come to the telegraph office to send my chess moves to Casper Rove. My love letters to Marla, those were different times. If our victim was the telegraph girl, she must have handled the messages and secrets of almost everyone in Concordia. One of those secrets might unlock her murder. I agree. Those keys might be a lead. Can you decipher the name on the tag? And restoring that torn photograph might lead to a discovery, too. Let's see what these clues reveal about our victim's life, Matthew.
We're interested in toothpaste. We got one ship, 20 containers. But it was pulled off the distro list before one. So it's still here? In a landfill?
Never their novelties.
Will Grady.
Institutions, hospitals, prisons, old age homes.
Places where people die all the time, so who's going to notice a few events?
Matthew, these keys belong to a certain Will Grady. And if he has keys to the telegraph office, he must have known our victim. It's late, but we still might find Mr. Grady around. Let's talk to him.
Save a few bucks, why didn't they just shut this?
The folks instructed the warehouse to take the toothpaste out of distribution and sell it.
The telegraph office is closed now, I'm afraid. I am the manager here. Do you have an urgent message to send? We're not here to send telegrams, Mr. Grady. One of your employees, Jane Pembroke, was murdered at the Justice Day party tonight. Murder at the party? Dash it! I was there to see the fireworks, too. I had to pop back here to check everything was locked up. We've had so many government inspections lately. This telegraph office is of strategic importance for the mayor. Mr. Grady, what can you tell us about Jane Pembroke? You were her supervisor. Oh, I supervised dozens of telegraph girls, Senior Shipper Matthew. As I mentioned, this is a fast-paced modern workplace. I can't say I knew this Jane very well. But here's an idea. If I remember any detail later, I will send a telegram to your airship.
I never saw that before.
Then who do you think's on your name? Who bought that toothpaste? Who wanted to make it go away?
Almost out.
He found out he wasted his money. What were you afraid of? Mr. Cahill getting bad quarterly performance review? So you can't believe it. Where would you use that? On that document, in case anyone ever caught on. It's trying to trick you. They're twisting things.
Maybe you did kill that girl.
Rachel!
Did he say anything to her to hurt you?
No, I understand. The company asked me about the toothpaste. I didn't know.
6.
You tried to hide it, but we found it.
Matthew, one of the ladies in this photograph is our victim. She's wearing her telegraph girl uniform, but it's unmistakably her.
Evidence of our fraud.
The other lady must be our colleague, and they seem friendly. What say you we look her up in the employee files?
Call me when you're ready to drop the charge. Mr. Vega? She's kind of right.
Your savings mark on that toothpaste. We're not watching the toothpaste is not capable of it. But you found out.
Perfect 9. Mini star. Now there's a new one. Matthew, the other telegraph girl with the victim in the photograph, is one Mini Star. I concur. Since Miss Star and the victim seem close, it shall be enlightening to talk to her.
I'll just prosecute you conspiring to obstruct justice in the trial of Derek Cahill. But by his silence, you sent Mr. Fuller into a courtroom to commit perjury. You can't prove it. I'll take my chances.
Miss Starr, apologies for the late visit, but we need to ask you about Jane Pembroke. It appears you were colleagues. And sadly, Jane was murdered at the Justice Day party tonight. Jane is dead? Oh no! I take it you and Jane were close, Miss Starr? Like sisters, Senior Trooper Matthew. We worked in the same office. After work, we'd go to the cinema or to the ice cream parlor. We went to the Justice Day party together too. We got separated in the crowd, but I didn't expect anything bad to happen. Not on Justice Day, I didn't. Oh, how wrong I was. I should never have taken my eyes off poor Jane, Senior Trooper Matthew.
We'll get that toothpaste.
Will do. See you guys when these two are done. Okay, folks, we have returned, and let's get the results of the scarf first. Matthew, I'm worried about my parents. They insist on staying in Concordia to keep the apothecary open and help people. But my mother says they're constantly being harassed by the Justice Corps, and I don't like the thought of soldiers pushing them around. These are dark tidings indeed, Viola, but we must stand fast and do what we do best, solve murders. I know. Well, I compared skin cells from the scarf with cells from the victim's body, and they were a perfect match. In other words, the poor girl was strangled with her own scarf. But there's more. I also found traces of a synthetic enzyme on the fabric, a chemical compound for treating high blood pressure. A lot of people suffer from high blood pressure these days, perchance a sign of our troubling times, but Dick verified that the victim did not have this condition. I therefore conclude that it's the killer who left their blood pressure medicine on the scarf. Our killer suffers from high blood pressure? Well, their anxieties are only going to increase now that you're on their trail, Matthew.
Don't underestimate
The scarf is a murder weapon. High blood pressure is our first attribute.
You don't do that.
Victim's body.
With hundreds of styles, all your looks are just a click away.
Matthew, how ominous that the Justice Day celebrations ended in murder. Lawson's authoritarian measures clearly haven't made Concordia safer, not even for his own supporters. But I hope you can enlighten us about this poor girl's demise, Richard. Well, Matthew, the victim was strangled, as you correctly deduced from the bruises on her neck. However, there was clearly a tussle between the victim and the killer, as chunks of the poor girl's hair were pulled out. But here's the most promising clue. I identified traces of champagne on the victim's neck, near the bruises, and though she did consume some sherry and wine, there was no champagne in her stomach. Which makes me conclude that the champagne residue was left on the victim's skin by the killer. Celebrating Justice Day with champagne and murder? Not on our watch, Matthew. We'll find the champagne-loving blackguard if it's the last thing we do.
Of safety training. With my phone camera, I filmed everything. The water from this baking freezer could contain a deadly bacteria called Listeria.
Matthew, given Mayor Lawson's increasingly draconian treatment of Concordian citizens, I never had much enthusiasm to celebrate Justice Day. But now that there's been a murder, we have even less cause for merriment. A young woman was strangled with her own scarf. So far, nothing we know about Jane Pembroke suggests that she had enemies. She worked in the telegraph office, but her supervisor, Will Grady, barely remembers her. We know that Jane went to the party with a companion from work, and that her neighbor, Mrs. Baker, was due to drive her home as she lived next door. Matthew, forgive me, but there's been a development. It appears your victim was married, but you'd better talk to her husband before he dies. Before he dies?
Big man at work, but a lump in interrogation.
Just doesn't look like he just folded. I mean, you and Ellie didn't even.
We'll find out. We'll find out. We'll find out why in chapter 2. See y'all then. Okay, we have started chapter 2 now of Inglorious Justice. We're starting it right now.
Protect you from. Why? Because he's your son. Look, here he is in a shot of you holding his
Henry
twins,
Pembroke is your husband.
kids.
Before he dies, Jane had a husband, and he's going to die? Well, Mrs. Baker just telephoned to say that Mr. Pembroke suffered apoplexy upon hearing of his wife's passing. He's considerably older and has high blood pressure, you see. Thunderation! Matthew, you'd have thought someone would have mentioned his husband before.
So what other things?
Well, you'd better go and see Mr. Pembroke now before he gets another attack.
The typewriter that you got Vanessa Marcus's letter on?
Come on, little old lady like you. Never took a copy computers. Like to do things the old-fashioned way. Isn't it the big lie that your business is built on? What do you think you're doing? Who's your typewriter?
You keep all of my things. Or what? You're gonna murder us like you murdered Laura? For coming into your world and uncovering people's secrets?
Hey, look at this.
So I'm putting out that knife.
Mr. Pembroke, if you're feeling better, we'd appreciate if you could answer a few questions about your late wife. Heavens, Jane's passing is a terrible ordeal. I'm too old for this predicament. I married a younger woman so she'd lighten up my days. What am I going to do now that she's gone? So you and Jane had a happy marriage. Our union could not have been more harmonious. Oh, Senior Trooper Matthew, I thought Jane would be the one to bury me, not the other way around. Mr. Pembroke, could anyone you know have wished harm on Jane, or was she mayhap involved in something dangerous? Dangerous? Jane's only pastime was gazing at the stars with her newfangled spyglass. I shan't brave the ladder myself, Senior Trooper Matthew, but you go ahead up to the attic and see Jane's favorite place for yourself.
A state disease outbreaks handled by the health department between 2015 and 2016. On the list, dengue fever on Hawaii Island, hepatitis A refers to scallops on Oahu and Hawaii, and salmonella linked to eating poke on Oahu. Communication and proper record keeping across all those investigations were found to be below standards set by the Centers for Disease Control and the World Health Organization.
Another important reason why records are important is so in future outbreaks, the division doesn't have to continue to reinvent the wheel.
Its director, Virginia Purcell, admits there are problems, but says it doesn't take away from their employees' efforts.
Let's see. I think I see a clue.
You know, they're exhausted and they deserve a lot of accolades for the work they did to help us at the front.
Leather bag.
Saying that nothing in the audit comes as a surprise. In fact, it's
Vanity case.
Is validation of issues they've identified internally, and that they're taking measures to improve in those areas.
Dengue fever outbreak hit us.
Top.
Very minimal resources.
Didn't.
Protocols for communication with the counties and sharing of information and that kind of thing.
Pressler says staffing was an issue, especially in the vector division. Since the dengue outbreak, 20 new positions have opened.
Matthew, Mr. Pembroke was right. It looks like Jane liked to spend time here stargazing. Look at her telescope. And that must be one of her lenses in that pouch. But you're right. Someone ruined the precious glass by writing Snoop on it with dirty fingers. I doubt the fingerprints are clear enough, but we might find out who besmirched the lens by gathering a sample of that substance on it. And I agree, we ought to see what Jane kept in that vanity case. If this was a refuge, we may discover something about her private life.
Last Saturday made her first appearance in court this morning. Both was charged with negligent homicide.
and failure to render aid. According to police, she was behind the wheel of an SUV that slammed into a couple of bus stops, killing a 61-year-old man. She fled the scene, was later caught and arrested, and was out after posting a $1,000 bail. A court hearing is set for January 26th. Medical examiner told Island News today, Paul Kevin Rozier, a 7-year-old autistic boy, found dead on Christmas morning, died due to accidental vomit.
Now that you've collected a sample of that sticky substance from Jane's lens, the microscope might help us find out who called her a snoop.
A live look outside tonight. A weekend front, but it was supposed to be gone. Instead, it's lingering. Island weather meteorologist Pete Casano as our first forecast might be. Will the wet stuff be around in the
Here we go. Cake icing. The substance smeared on Jane's telescope lens is icing for lemon cake. You're right, Matthew. Mrs. Baker mentioned her famous lemon pie, and she was Jane's neighbor. Could she have sneaked up to her attic to ruin her lens? Perchance their neighborly relations weren't as cordial as Mrs. Baker led us to believe. Let us question her again.
The air seat capacity on planes flying to Hawaii went up about 5%, serving significant.
Why she called Jane a snoop? Mrs. Baker, you told us Jane was a good neighbor, so why did you call her a snoop? Because that minx was spying on me with her spyglass from her attic. She had the vile thing pointed at my house. You thought Jane was spying on you? The Justice Court keeps everyone under surveillance, and you never know which one of your neighbors will denounce you to them. Of course, all Jane could see was me sipping champagne in my kitchen. Nothing illegal, you understand. But Lord knows if she might have told the Justice Court about me. One careless word could land me in the gallows. Senior Trooper Matthew, I'm an old lady with high blood pressure. I had to warn Jane to back off. We aren't without sympathy, Mrs. Baker, but if you went too far to prevent careless gossip, you'll land yourself in even bigger trouble.
Compared to a year ago, and it's not just the shops like these ones here in Waikiki that are benefiting.
Everyone's getting that share.
Is that any case? Morse strip. Matthew, is that a Morse code message among Jane's belongings? We know Jane works at the telegraph office transcribing messages like this every day. But why does she keep this one here in the attic? You're right. We must get Charlie to translate the code for us. 12 hours, and I will get the results tomorrow. See y'all then. Okay, we have returned. Let's get the results from Morse strip right now. Matthew, babies are such fascinating mechanisms, even before they're born. Last night I was reading an engineering textbook to Maddie's belly, and I could feel the baby kick in delight. It is heartwarming to know we'll soon welcome another DuPont into the world, but alas, tonight we have a more somber business. Of course, Matthew, your telegram bears yesterday's date stamp, and it reads, to Jane Pembroke, stop. Punishment is fair, stop. Revenge is righteous, stop. The eyes of justice are blind no more, stop. A message about punishment and revenge, nary a day before Jane was murdered? This must have been sent by the killer. That's what I thought, so I asked Debbie about the phrasing and she instantly recognized the source.
Families who are displacing.
Or maybe just the white kids trying to do
Punishment is fair, revenge is righteous, and the eyes of justice are blind no more are quotes from various speeches Lawson gave since he seized power. Our killer was quoting Lawson when they threatened Jane? Alas, the mayor of Concordia is now an inspiration for murderers. But you're right. What is a sad reflection on our times is also a step forward in our investigation. Now we've established our killer knows Lawson's speeches. And I agree, Matthew. Everything suggests that the telegraph office is crucial to our case. Let us return there for fresh clues.
It's absurd to try and imply that the self-confessed murderer.
It's prejudicial. That's to my client. Why should Mr. Taken by this sorry excuse for a mother? And why did Mrs. Steele want to be lumped together with this trigger-happy hothead?
Easy, counselor.
Your Honor, my client is
Which isn't grounds for severance, John. People interviewed you. He's right. The shooting was a single event, and there is no inherent factual conflict between the defense. The motion for separate trials is denied.
Even 180,000 left.
Smashed the bench just to scare him. Then what happened? The black kid started running across the street, and we chased him. Like I said, just to scare him. And that was the whole point. Just to let him and his friends know that they couldn't push us around. And then we saw this black guy coming down the stoop. That man right there just fired. He killed my friend and that little girl.
Now, Andy, you
Excuse me.
testified that it was David's idea to go get his ball back.
Boy, it's hard to believe we are so close to the end of Mysteries of the Past.
I don't know.
Did your mother object to David's idea? Did she forbid you and Josh from going
No.
She encouraged you, didn't she?
objection. Testifying against his mother, he should be considered a hostile witness.
Quite right. Overruled. That's right. My thanks to the defense counsel. Andy.
First
She
star in
told
the
you
books.
the same thing she did when you were playing soccer, to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, she said that, definitely.
Matthew, that locked box bears the insignia of the telegraph office.
Baseball bats.
Yeah, she said that those kids.
Opening it might supply a new lead. And restoring those torn pieces shan't take long in your hands. Matthew, we need a fresh perspective on Jane's murder, and these clues might hold the answer.
Those baseball bats for self-defense, not to hurt anybody, right?
Yes, that's right.
Let's do the box first.
Young man, show me how you were chasing my client's son. Yep, show me.
Oh,
You were chasing my client's son.
I heard you. Okay.
Did you yell something like, "Don't worry, kid, we're not gonna hurt you"?
Matthew, this is the voice recorder. Of course, the telegraph office has cutting-edge technology.
Will was running toward me.
Let's dispatch it to Charlie so you can retrieve the recordings.
He had his back up. He looked like he was about to swing. So I shot at him.
You thought your son was in mortal danger, didn't you?
Yes. I honestly thought that boy was gonna
12
kill us.
hours.
I'm sorry about the little girl. I knew her from the neighborhood. She was... I can't sleep at night thinking about that. I was just trying to save my son.
Bold. Check the 7 time. Matthew, I'm not sure he's authorized to access the telegraph office at all times. Who is this Eddie LeBold, and what does he... Psst, Matthew. Do we know you, sir? Your voice is familiar, but... How about now? Diego? Is that really you? Hush. Not so loud, if you don't mind. I'd rather not be seen in public without my disguise. Matthew, let's go to my place where we can talk undisturbed. Hello.
I don't know. I don't know.
No more questions.
Not his alter ego.
My son's they're scared.
Most pleased to see you again, Matthew. Admit it, you're in awe of my disguise. And my badge. Looks authentic, doesn't it? Thanks for restoring it. Diego, it's good to see you too, but pray tell, what is this charade about? Matthew, I must admit, life's not been easy for me since Lawson unceremoniously kicked me out of the squad. I had to find alternative employment, and as our dear mayor said in his inaugural speech, half measures will no longer do. If I wanted to survive, I needed to assume a new identity. So I reinvented myself as Eddie LeBold, a government clerk inspecting the telegraph office. I stand around looking busy, chatting to pretty telegraph girls.
They said that David had been shot.
So you're pulling a con by pretending to be a city employee? What else could I do, Matthew? I need to be crafty to fool the Justice Corps, or else they'd arrest me on sight. I just hope this game doesn't put you in more danger, Diego. But alas, we've got more pressing matters on our minds. An employee of the telegraph office was murdered. Have you come across a certain Jane Pembroke during your assignment? I don't think so, Matthew. I'm sorry I can't help you this time. But fear not, Matthew, this too shall pass. We'll be sipping champagne on the airship together one day when all this is over.
She doesn't have to answer that.
No, I would like.
Well,
My parents always
we've come across Diego again.
have to stand up to
But we'll find out if he's the killer. I don't think he is, but we'll see what happens. For now, I need to get the rest of the stars. I may include a New Year's treat if I get this. But we'll see what happens. Okay, I decided to immediately speed this up. I got all this... Oh, hold on. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. So that's my treat for you guys. So I'm speeding things up. Matthew, this device is recording the conversations of telegraph office employees without their knowledge. Oh, the times we live in. Did it at least record anything Jane Pembroke said? Anything that could have explained what led to her murder? Interestingly, Jane wasn't in the room at the time of this recording, but all her colleagues were there and they were talking about her. One girl, a certain Minnie Starr, was loudly belittling Jane in front of the others. She said Jane was charming as a donkey, sharp as a button, and the dullest girl that ever lived. The others tried to defend Jane, but that only seemed to infuriate Minnie further. Matthew, I didn't know girls could be so mean to each other. Minnie Starr was bad-mouthing Jane behind her back, but they were friends. Minnie said they were inseparable, like sisters. You're right, Matthew. We better ask Miss Starr to set this story straight.
He didn't talk about it at the office.
How much of the MVP?
Dad didn't follow sports.
What about his day yesterday? Anything unusual?
Meetings, phone calls.
Well, why she badmouthed Jane.
Schedule.
Miss Starr,
15 minutes.
do you often call your friends charming as a donkey behind their back, or was that reserved for Jane?
Yeah. Personal call.
Senior Trooper Matthew, how on earth do you know about that?
Was never late.
Well, I'm not proud, but something happened that made my blood pressure soar. Even gulping down a glass of champagne didn't improve my mood, so I had to let off some steam. Jane got promoted to lead telegraph girl. I couldn't believe they picked her of all the girls. Let us be honest, Senior Trooper Matthew, Jane was rather plain in looks as well as intellect. That's why I liked her. She never outshined me. You were dismayed by Jane's promotion because she was plain? I know it wasn't nice to be jealous of my friend, but as Mayor Lawson said in his speech last week, justified anger is nothing to be ashamed of.
Last night, Mr. Lawrence. An event for Jim Giles, State Assembly. Fascinating, man.
That's 3.
Very authentic. And Todd Stewart was there. He was a job.
Matthew, we've uncovered some details about Jane Pembroke's life, but not enough to crack the enigma of her murder.
Oh no, that was...
Our first surprise was that Jane was married to a much older gentleman, but Mr. Pembroke said their marriage was happy, spying on her with her telescope from the attic. Jane's best friend Minnie Starr was jealous of her promotion. And last but not least, we discovered that Diego went back to his old trick since Lawson fired him from the squad. He's calling himself Eddie LeBold now and pretends to be inspector. Matthew, turn on the wireless. Lawson is going to make an announcement, and I bet you it won't be good. That's a safe bet. We'll find out what that announcement is in Chapter 3. Don't go away. Alright folks, we have come back, and let's start Chapter 3 of Inglorious Justice.
Let me make something very clear. I am not gay. Well, you were asking all that. But now you know. Would you also care this is
Lawson on the wireless? Great, let's hear some more propaganda. To all Concorians, tonight's Justice Day celebrations ended in a serious disturbance of the public order. Therefore, I hereby forbid all gatherings and demonstrations effective immediately. I repeat, freedom of assembly is suspended. Now we can't even be seen talking to others in public. Here we go, Matthew. Another civil right is taken away by Lawson. But you're right. With a murder to solve, we don't have time to take to the streets. Instead, we should head back to the victim's house and take another look at her attic. Let's go.
Yes, but not in the store. In the men's room.
Giles says he barely knew Todd Stewart, but that long phone call that Stewart made the day he died was the Giles private phone number.
Well, maybe we were having a conversation about campaign contributions.
Giles also says he got back to his hotel at 8:30. And desperate song he did after.
So Giles is in the closet, having an affair with Todd Stewart.
Maybe thought he got scared there.
So out comes the soon and Giles downloads his re-election.
If Giles takes care of here, he just won't be alone just one time.
The whole theory is built on one assumption, that Giles is secretly gay.
Well, he's staring across the street from the cruising capital of Midtown.
Okay. Well, the only way to find out if Giles actually takes advantage of that man.
Okay.
Unless you want to slip into something sexy and buy the guy a drink. We can start arguing about who goes on stalk duty.
Boy, we're gonna find a lot of clues here. we go. Matthew Jane's attic is like a curiosity shop, but I hope he found some good clues amongst the clutter. A box of chocolates. Why, Jane must have liked a sweet treat with your midnight stargazing. Wait, you're right. There's a card attached. Let's recover the writing. And there's just about enough light here to restore that torn paper too. And that little book was Jane's diary. I wouldn't pry into a lady's secrets, but this is no time for courtesy. Let's open that lock.
One I've said the sticks out for me is the introduction of my character. He comes on the scene during a crime in which his brother was killed. When we worked this case, it was a very emotionally charged episode.
Then you would do it, even now. You would help them die.
That is not my problem.
It's a large lot of operates. There's a level of comfort when walking into any environment as if he lived there for the last 10 years.
Law and Order on television. Positively entertaining. What makes an awesome focus so extraordinary is it the stunning realism, selection, and simplicity of our artificial Christmas
To
tree.
Jane with affections, Will Grady.
Modeled after real evergreen branches. It's that awesome girl has everything you need to make this season bright.
Matthew, this card on the chocolate box says, to Jane with affections, Will Grady. Will Grady? That's Jane's manager at the telegraph office. He said he supervised so many girls he couldn't remember Jane. I wonder how he forgot he'd send her chocolates with affections. Matthew, what say we go and jog Mr. Grady's memory about this?
You book a flight, then at a hotel you can save.
Mr. Grady, Senior Trooper Matthew found the chocolates you sent to Jane. Why did you deny you knew her? I was hoping you wouldn't find out about that, Senior Trooper Matthew. Look, in my position, I get a lot of attention from the ladies. Some flirt with me, some bring champagne to my office after work. But I do not care about such women. Jane, now she was different, demure, shy. I didn't know that she was married until she turned me down. She wasn't even mad at me. Such was the kindness of her heart. Sending her these chocolates was foolish, but rest assured my affections were purely one-sided, and I wouldn't want my silly mistake to tarnish her reputation now. Is that all then? Well, Mr. Grady, you're sure to sleep better now that no more secrets weigh on your heart.
Hurry into Lowe's and get up to 30% off selected fine special values. It's here. The publisher's here has $5,000 of new forever cards. That's all you choose gets 5,000 week per gallon. Every piece of extra product and you're return win forever.
Kohl's Intimate Stock-Up Sale is going on now with 25 to 40% off all brands. Kohl's is the biggest assortment for the best brands. So now is the best time to stock up for the new year at Kohl's Intimate Stock-Up Sale.
Matthew, this is an official employee report on Jane Pembroke. And you're right, it was written by an inspector called Eddie LeBold. That's Diego. He didn't seem to know anything about Jane when we asked him. But it looks like Jane had plenty to say about him. She circled his name on the report and wrote, "You don't get to judge me. I know the truth about you." The truth? Did Jane see through Diego's disguise? You're right, Matthew. We need to talk to him.
Times, there's still hope. Duo by Lazy Boy has combining stylish design and power to rely.
Hopefully we'll get to add it back to the squad. Diego, we thought your Eddie LeBeau persona was just a disguise, but Matthew found this report you wrote about Jane Pembroke. Well, I had to put on a convincing act, so I scribbled something down, yes. What about this note? Did Jane realize you were a fraud? Please, nobody knows who I really am. But Jane might have seen me help myself to some cash from the till at the telegraph office. You stole money? Tarnation! Do you realize this could cost you your life these days? Times are hard. Since lost and sacking from the squad, I cannot sleep. My blood pressure is sky high. I really needed some money. Let's just hope these hard times didn't push you to take drastic measures, Diego. I'd be loath to end our friendship by slapping the handcuffs on you.
Right, you don't want them to read in the papers that you're gay. Constituents, that's what Todd Stewart threatened you with.
God, I hope it's not him.
Todd Stewart.
We just ran the credit card from the wallet. We used it to send gift baskets to Todd Stewart.
Thank you for donating to my campaign. Yeah, you also used it for a double room at a resort in Kentucky. Same weekend, Taylor's there. So it looks like you two are thinking each other's brains. Alright, we were friends. It's crazy to think that I killed him.
3 pattern there.
We did argue during the day on the phone, but I told you the truth about the fundraiser. We barely spoke.
6, 3, 3, 1.
So where were you later? The truth this time.
1, 2, 3,
I was
6,
with another friend.
2.
We were together until 1 a.m.
And Mr. Giles' prints don't match the partial.
Well, I got them all.
So basically, we're just
That 8 energy extra. Matthew, it appears that Jane's diary is really a sketchbook. I have to admit, a drawing of wild beasts isn't what I'd have expected from a young lady. Do you think these drawings might have some significance? Well, I hope Abby can glean something from them.
How big?
Millions is what they call a bundle. You lost it to a person who only donate
9 hours.
campaign, personal bargains, gains for small amounts of money.
And I'll see you guys afterwards. Okay, folks, we have returned, and let's get the results of the victim's sketchbook right now. Oh, Matthew, I'm so worried about Catherine. I haven't been able to get in touch with the resistance at all. What if I never see her again? She was the first person I ever... Oh, dear. Don't lose hope, child. Catherine has more courage and wit than those bullies, and we'll find a way to get her back. I hope you're right, but until then you probably want to know more about Jane's sketchbook. I'm glad Diego taught me how to interpret drawings and get to people's innermost thoughts. And Jane's thoughts are very clear when she drew these beasts. The lion represents male authority in many mythologies and fairy tales. In Jane's drawing, he's outnumbered and defeated by tigers, who symbolize determination and female energy. Matthew, I believe this drawing is an expression of female frustration against a male authority figure, most probably Jane's husband. Mr. Pembroke said their marriage was happy, but perchance that's not how his wife felt about it. I suggest we pay you another visit.
Always have faith. Merry Christmas, Olinda.
First of all, thank you. It's been so exciting just to see the faces of our little ones just waiting for Santa and all the gifts. This is the real spirit of Christmas. So we're so thankful for what you're doing. We really appreciate it. We're so thankful.
Ask him about his marriage.
Private sector has embraced the situation in Puerto Rico.
Mr. Pembroke, Senior Trooper Matthew found evidence that your wife felt stifled in your marriage. Stifled? I don't see why. I even allowed her to go to work. Jane knew I was against it, but she wore me down with her nagging. You didn't want your wife to be employed? Senior Trooper Matthew, I married a young woman so she'd look after me, to cook my meals, iron my shirts, not to gallivant around with young men in uniforms and liberated women. If Mrs. Baker didn't bring me some lemon cake from time to time, I'd have been all but neglected. Maybe I should have married her instead. Pity I can't abide her obsession with the mayor's speeches. Why did Jane have to indulge in these modern liberties, Senior Trooper Matthew? If only she'd obeyed me, she would still be by my side. Matthew, the hour is late, and we still haven't solved Jane Pembroke's murder. You discovered that Jane's husband would have preferred her to be a housewife, but would he have killed Jane just to show her who was in charge? Meanwhile, Jane's manager confessed to having unrequited feelings for her, and love has driven stronger men than him to acts of madness. The troubling truth is that Diego also had a strong motive. Jane caught him stealing from the telegraph office, and Matthew, I just got word that the Justice Corps is about to clean up the crime scene. If you don't want to run into Inspector Gilbert, you better beat him to it. Tarnation! Matthew, we better head back to the town square and find the final clues before it's too late.
Here's to the flavorful. Those unafraid to show their signature style, signature moves, that makes life interesting. So to you, we raise a sandwich as flavorful as you are, from McDonald's signature crafted recipes. Try the Swiss mushroom melt from McDonald's. Grilled mushrooms and 2 slices of real Swiss cheese, topped with creamy garlic and herb.
Attention, Yellow Hockey is announcing a yearly clearance over 75% of our inventory discounted. Buy a new Kia at used car prices. 2017 Kia Rio is just $12,999. 2017 Kia Souls $14,475. 2017 Kia Forte Aloha Kia, see ya in a Kia.
Hold on, I'm hungry. We're gonna go for some fried rice. Me? Hey, Mom. Do you want to look at those fried rice?
Hello.
My name is Tasha. I was just wondering if you guys know where to look at those fried rice.
No.
No. Hey, where to look at those fried rice?
No.
Well, does anybody know? Still hungry. I'm gonna put a Jack in the Box because they never let me down. Oh! No! Available only here in Hawaii. Tell them Passion sent you.
Time and temperature from AC Warehouse. Time to get cool with a Mitsubishi AC.
You're watching Island News at 10 with Robert Picard.
Put myself up to 5th place already.
And sports with Brandy Heaton.
An elderly Oahu woman hit by an SUV last night has died.
The accident happened on Dillingham Boulevard and it shut down the road for more than an hour.
Matthew, that discarded napkin is covered in brown hair. And you're right. Dick mentioned the killer pulled out some of Jane's hair. Let us vacuum up a sample. And I agree. Sifting through trash is saved the day before. Looks like it's time to dig in. Matthew, let's end Justice Day by doing justice to poor Jane Pembroke.
Police said body was found behind some bushes. No suspicious activity was immediately evident, and no age or gender has yet been released.
A collision involving a semi-truck clogged up traffic earlier today on Kaneohe Avenue in Hilo. Southbound lanes were closed.
12 people, including 4 small children. ABC's Linda Lopez
Oh
reports
boy.
from New York.
Hold on, folks.
After what the
Never mind.
commissioner called the deadliest fire in 25 years. Other than
this fire started in the kitchen on the first floor. It started from a young boy, 3.5 years old, playing with the burners on the stove.
Commissioner Nigel says that the mother of the 3-year-old who was playing on the stove was in another room and was alerted by the child's screaming. The fire quickly took hold in the kitchen, so the mother
Of course, we are coming down to the very end. So there's no doubt that we're going to finish this in 2018. But this thing will just hurry it up. There we are, 6. Swift work, Matthew. Once we get this hair sample from the napkin to Viola, we'll be a hair's breadth from solving this murder.
Then we went back to the fire escape. And then I had to take my children.
Died were all members of the same family.
Jesus.
Jesus.
4 from 1 family from all.
The fire commissioner giving a reminder about unattended children and fires, and the crucial fire safety lesson of closing the door on a burning room.
We must close the door on the exit, because the results should be known on what happened here last night.
We're going this ABC News New York.
After nearly a month off, many Santa Barbara, California will be returning to school next week after the Thomas fire, but there is still a lot of cleanup to be done. Crews are clearing ash from areas like playgrounds
Medicine
and
bottle.
lots on 20 campuses around the city.
Matthew, that medicine you found in the trash is for high blood pressure. We know the killer suffers from this ailment. Let's send the bottle to Viola and give the killer's heart a reason to beat faster.
And I think kids are anxious to go back to school. At least the ones I've talked to says, yeah, I'm getting kind of bored at home.
Crews had to clean nearly 2 million square feet of space. And another Calvaco park is closing at the start of the new year. Other Waldron
9 hours, and I'll see you guys when these 2 are done. I'll get the results tomorrow. So for now, this is Matthew. Thank you for watching. Okay, let's put a killer behind bars to get the results in the hair. Matthew, consider all these things us ladies do to enhance our appearance. Who doesn't want to be pretty for a party? What are you talking about, Viola? The Justice Day party's long over, and it wasn't very festive, trust me. Oh, I'm talking about this hair sample, of course. It is indeed the victim's hair, and there's a lot to be gleaned from a woman's coiffure. Well, we know Jane's coiffure was ruined when the killer pulled her hair out, but I'd wager her beauty was the least of her concerns while the killer was strangling her. My dear Isaac, allow me to finish. I found traces of bright red lipstick on the victim's hair. However, Jane was a modest girl who did not wear flamboyant cosmetics. The lipstick must have come from the killer, who transferred it onto Jane's hair in the tussle. She must have retouched her makeup just before their fight. So we're looking for a killer who wears lipstick. Well, this was the last party where they showed off their beauty, Matthew.
Sometimes we take ourselves a little too seriously.
Matthew, a lot of people suffer from high blood pressure in these troubled times. My parents tell me the prescriptions have soared. However, the composition of this medicine is exactly the same as the molecule I found earlier on the scarf the victim was strangled with. So this bottle did belong to the killer. Was there anything else on it that might narrow down our suspect list? Only a few delicate strands of lint, but I've analyzed them under the microscope, and I can tell you it's blue cotton, most commonly used in clothing. The killer must have kept the medicine in their pocket, Matthew. So you're looking for someone who wears blue. Well, they cannot hide from Matthew any longer. We shall deal with this killer clad in blue. It's definitely not Diego. I knew that from the lipstick clue. Matthew, it's time to arrest Jane Pembroke's killer, now that we have all the evidence against them.
Buy one, get one 25% off, plus 12 months special on stylish beds. film execs, sectionals, and reclining sofas. Celebrate and save during the New Year's Eve. Load up now with America's #1.
She does have lipstick on, so it looks like it is Mini Star.
This is home.
Yep. I was pretty sure about the lipstick too. Mini Star, you're under arrest for Jane Pembroke's murder. Senior Trooper Matthew, you must be mistaken. Jane was my friend. No doubt poor Jane believed you to be her friend. She went to the Justice Day party with you, where you strangled her with her own scarf. You tried to hide the evidence, but Senior Trooper Matthew found it. Nonsense! With so many people at the party, it could have been anyone. We found your blood pressure medication on the murder weapon, and you're still wearing the lipstick you smeared on her hair as you pulled it out. No woman would ever go to a party without lipstick. Well, except plain Jane, of course.
Don't worry, he's gonna come first.
Admit it, Minnie, your friendship with Jane was a vicious competition. We heard you belittle her behind her back, and you even sent her a threatening telegram. Alright, you got me, Senior Trooper Matthew. I killed Jane. But you have to understand me. She was so infuriating. Always pretending to be shy and quiet, but then she wriggled her way into a promotion she knew I wanted, too. Calculating is what she was, not shy. And did you see her? Dull as a mouse. And still she got herself a rich husband while I'm left unwed. You killed Jane out of jealousy? I wasn't jealous. I only wanted what was fair. Senior Trooper Matthew, you cannot dispute I was better than Jane in every way. I'm prettier for a start. Ask any man at the telegraph office. Well, it appears that Will Grady didn't agree. He clearly saw Jane in a different light. That louse put a spell on Mr. Grady. What could he have possibly seen in Jane when I was flirting with him every day? Mayor Lawson promised us justice and fairness, Senior Trooper Matthew. All I did was fix the injustices of my own life. He would understand. I very much doubt so, Miss Starr, but you shall know soon enough. You're under arrest for the murder. Minnie Starr, you're accused of murdering Jane Pembroke at the Justice Day party. Not only did you commit a crime, but you also brought the celebration into disrepute. It was meant to be a tribute to Mayor Lawson and the new era of justice in Concordia. Justice Day only reminded me of the injustices I had suffered. I thought Mayor Larson's new regime would finally bring me the success I deserved. But where is justice and fairness when I was still overshadowed by the likes of Jane Pembroke? Miss Starr, your self-serving notions of justice and fairness nauseate me. Your moral corruption is irreversible. You're sentenced to life in prison. Imprisonment. All rise. Life imprisonment? I'm too young and pretty for that. My goodness, what have I done? Matthew, you saw Jane Pembroke's murder, but this will not help the political prisoners Lawson is intending to execute at the town square. We need to stop Lawson's plans, and for that, we're going to need the help of the resistance.
Your son's medical records tell a different story. Mrs. Turner, I don't think you understand. Kyle has committed a serious crime, committed sexual assault. He can be charged as an adult.
Take a look at the other ones. Henry Pembroke is clear from the start. Diego, no lipstick. Martha Baker, no blue on. Will Grady, cleared early. It was Minnie Starr. Okay, folks, we have returned. Let's start final judgment 4-6. Matthew, in 2 days, Lawson will have the enemies of his regime executed at the town square. We cannot let that happen. Evie, has the Resistance made any headway in stopping Lawson's plans? No, or I don't know. I haven't been able to contact them at all since Catherine was captured. The Justice Corps keeps a close eye on everyone. I can't risk going to Lady Highmore's and being followed. Matthew, I need to see you in my office now. And when I say now, I mean now. Matthew, I think you'd better go see what the chief wants to say.
Have you ever seen him hit, Kyle?
I didn't have to, because I can, you can tell. I didn't think it was my business, but I'll have.
Matthew, I need your help. I've received a telegram from Bernadine. I hadn't heard from her in weeks, and now look what she writes. Arthur, I've made a decision. Stop. We must part ways. Stop. Don't look for me. Stop. Chief, not to be cruel, but this is not the time to mend broken hearts. Lawson's going to execute his political foes. Political foes? And what do you think Bernadine Rochester is to Lawson? Matthew, this message doesn't sound like Bernadine. I went to her house and she wasn't there. I worry that something's going on. Very well, Chief. Matthew's right. If Bernadine sent this message from the telegraph office, perchance you can retrace your steps from there. Great. Thank you so much, Matthew. I'll wait for you at the telegraph office. Matthew, I understand the Chief needs help looking for Bernadine, but we must also find a way to contact the Resistance. Matthew, I think I can help you with that. Remember when I offered to set up a secure telephone line for the Resistance? Well, I'm almost done. I'm just missing one important piece, a special signal converter, the kind used at the telegraph office. The telegraph office, you say? Perfect. Matthew can kill two birds with one stone and help both the Chief and Charlie. I'll wait for you there. I'll wait for you here.
He didn't tell me to do anything. If I tell Cap to testify, Jim goes to jail. He is abusing his friends. He broke Cap's wrist to beat the hell out of Adam. He's mean too. And they love him. He's a good man. He just my husband. Patient, that's a cop-out. Every day for the past 5 years, I wake up and say, I'm going to take the boys and leave. But then it does something that makes me see the other side. She knows my mother's long or pays for her arthritis medication. But tells me that he helps me.
Electronic equipment.
And I say to myself, this is a good man. But then it changes. It's a bullshit. Because that's what the thing is for you. Just like this is the man you picked to spend your life with. To have children with.
Here we go. Bernadine's earring.
Convince him to testify to go on record and say that his dad forced him to assault Jack with that hockey stick.
I was right.
Matthew, this is Bernadine's earring. I recognize it. You reckon that substance on the earring might lead us to her? I hope you're right. And that box looks like I might find a converter in it. Let's have a look, Matthew.
Remember what happened.
really didn't want to hurt Jack. Just use my friend.
But your dad told you to swim Jack.
He's so my dad. I don't want him to get in trouble.
You know some cow, you know from some Jack. Living in that house. I was angry for Dad. Because right away, Jack reminded me of me. See, I was the strong guy back then. That's his neighborhood. I used to pick up every day when he was. This kid, I forget. One day when I was in school with that man, set my face.
Phew, Matthew, you gathered a sample from Bernadine's earring with aplomb. Now do you know where she is? Oh, you mean we still need to take the sample to the lab? Then it will take hours to get the results? Then there's not a second to lose.
That's right. But wait a minute, what happened?
9 hours.
It was suicide. His dad was almost sad to death. I don't know why. I was what if I kissed him? Or sex with him? I got this out of life. You know, not for you, Colin. Do it for your big brother. Because what happens when he gets older? When you're not around to look after him?
Got it. It's a converter indeed. Matthew, this converter you found in the box is exactly what I need. Just give me a couple of hours to attach this converter to my switchboard. Then we'll be able to contact the resistance without Lawson being any the wiser.
Okay. I'll do it.
So 6 hours. I'll see you guys again.
Whoa, Plus, Netflix for the whole family.
Okay, we have returned, and let's get the results of the converter first. Matthew, everything's ready. The resistance now has a secure telephone line. Evie called them up. Giulietta will be waiting for us in the sewers. Now that Lawson outlawed public gatherings, you can't be too careful.
For drug-free sinus relief, experience
Matthew, we live in truly exciting times. Now I can make history as part of the resistance. Charles DuPont, the only place where you'll be making history is here in your lab. I must see to it that my baby has a father when it's born. I'll go with Matthew to meet Giulietta. You stay put here.
Now it's CBS and
But you are carrying the baby, dear. Please do be careful.
When I grow up, one of my old stuff.
I'll do my best. Come, Matthew. Let's not keep Giulietta waiting.
Back then, making the next big thing was a challenge. Today, it's my job. Here at Coke, my team and I recycle cooking oil into renewable biofuels. It's a real challenge, finding new ways.
Let's talk to Giulietta again.
I was born for this.
Good, Senior Trooper Matthew. You're here. We don't have much time. There are patrols everywhere. We cannot stand back and watch Lawson execute people. How can we help the resistance, Giulietta? You can help by finding out the exact details of Lawson's plans.
Weekdays starting at 6 Eastern on HLN.
Politics is important, but I'm a mom first, so I know we've got to start.
I have volunteers raring to go, and guns aplenty, but we don't know the details, and we can't plan an attack without intelligence.
Closed captioning brought to you by InventHelp. Call 1-800-900-0202.
Intelligence? Senior Trooper Matthew's right. We know exactly where to find it. Ross and supporters were all at the Justice Day party earlier. Great. Do what you need to do at the town square, Senior Trooper Matthew. Then call me again. But first eat something. You'll need your strength.
The tragic death of Florence Unger, the mother of 2 young children, was a shock to co-workers, friends, and family. Unless you've lived through it, it's family ruled out suicide as a possibility. There's no way that she could have contemplated suicide for a number of reasons. Parentless. An accident seemed like a distinct possibility. The railing on the deck outside the Unger's cabin was freshly broken. It looked as if she were sitting or leaning on it, and it gave way, causing her to fall to the boat launch below. But how did the body get into the water? Mark Unger hired a private independent forensic firm to find out why. They concluded that with Florence falling 12 feet from the deck, the momentum of the fall carried her forward from the point of impact.
They produced 5 different scenarios, computer that Florence could have possibly ended up in the water.
The forensic firm concluded that Florence's death was an accident.
One.
But the medical
Stained
examiner
glass.
completely disagreed.
Bodies do not bias. That's number 1. She would have been rendered unconscious upon contact. And unconscious, this unconscious individual cannot just walk into the water.
And Dr. Dragovich noticed that the blood stain on the boat launch was nearly a foot in diameter. For blood to go to that size, to the diameter that we're talking in the cement platform, the body would have had to bend there for a period of time.
Bit of an awful way to
To find
end
out how
things.
long Florence would have laid there bleeding, Dr. Dragovich examined slides of her brain tissue. He focused on the neurons, a cellular communication system that controls movement, memory, and emotion. Dr. Dragovich discovered repair proteins in Florence's brain that this showed
Matthew, that document
Florence's
carrier
brain
bears the
was
insignia of the
struggling
Justice
to
Corps.
survive long after she hit her head. And
Let's
before
open the
she
tube
died.
and see if the plans for the mass execution are in there.
It's estimated that Florence was lying on the cement for at least 90 minutes, possibly for as long as 2 hours before she was in the water. And there was other conflicting evidence. The blood stain on the boat launch and the broken railing above did not line up. The trajectory of where she wound up on the deck was not in line. To see whether the deck railing was structurally unsound, analysts tested an unbroken section of the deck railing using what's called...
Okay, let's try this again. Okay.
And friends told investigators Florence didn't want to take the trip to the lake. In fact, she was afraid to go.
48488.
Close friends were all apprehensive.
There you are.
Several of her friends asked her, "Why are you doing this? Why are you going up there?"
She did not want to go, but she was afraid to go. She made that to a neighbor. And if that weren't enough, the resort owner gave
There we are.
even more evidence, also circumstantial.
5, 8,
He said,
9,
when he told Mark he
4,
had found
5.
Florence's body, Mark didn't ask him where it was. The resort owner testified that he did not tell Mark where it was.
This diagram in the Justice Corps guard's document carrier might be just what we need. Let's recover the faded writing.
Mark ran Florence's body lying in the water without being told where she was there, and without being able to observe her from his vantage point.
To prove this, investigators placed a mannequin in the water exactly where Florence's body was found. Then, an investigator with a video camera stood at the exact spot where the consultant had told Mark his wife was dead. In this video tape, it's clear the body can't be seen until the viewer is virtually on contact. We knew exactly what he said. But none of this proved murder. In fact, in
investigators had no direct evidence linking Mark to Florence's death. That is, until they looked at Mark Under's shoes and found a white smear.
The State Police Crime Lab found a white speck of what they believe was paint.
Down to one.
Investigators set Mark's shoe along with 6 different paint samples collected from the resort to forensic scientist Keith Lamont.
I received several blood samples from various locations in the Hull House area.
He bombarded the sample
It's only going to be one, but
samples in ways that can then be measured.
Paint's composition basically consists of...
I can attribute that to a slow computer. Matthew, this is exactly what we were hoping for. The layout of the place where the mass execution will be held. This drawing shows all the details Giulietta needed. The timing, the position of Lawson, and the guards. You're right. We must discuss this with Giulietta. Let's ask her to meet us again in the sewers.
To investigators, this pointed to only one logical conclusion.
We believe Mark kicked that railing, and the paint speck on the shoe certainly would suggest.
Senior Trooper Matthew, have you got the plans? Yes. Look here, we have all the details of the execution, the timing, the position of the guards, everything. The tide is finally turning. Alright, Senior Trooper Matthew, let me see. The plan shows the prisoners will be brought out at dawn. I and a handful of my best fighters could hide under the guillotine scaffold. Yes, this will work. At the same time, Senior Trooper Matthew, you and Enzo can take your positions on the opposite corner and wait for our signal.
You'll see results right away.
When the prisoners are lined up and Lawson steps out, that's when we'll strike. First, my fighters will overpower the Justice Corps and take their guns. Then you, Senior Trooper Matthew, can slap the irons on Lawson. Giulietta, if this works, you can take down Lawson and his men and free the political prisoners without bloodshed. It's almost too good to be true.
13 pounds?
Senior Trooper Matthew, we must have faith in my... And yours. We won't get an opportunity like this again. We'll meet you in the public square in 2 days at dawn. Take these and be safe.
Now business is booming. Harry,
Build a better website in under an hour. Free to try. No credit card required. Go Central from GoDaddy.
Feel the power of Theraflu Express Maps.
And the dirt before I call it a night. Matthew, the Rochesters haven't had an easy time since Lawson came to power, but Bernadine's disappearance worries me. She really doesn't deserve to suffer. I won't rest till I know she's safe. But tell us, Viola, did the sample from her earring provide a lead? Well, I've studied the sample, and I can tell you the substance is soil. The acid content indicates this kind of soil is formed under deciduous trees at this time of year. Furthermore, I found the spores of wood-ear mushrooms in the sample. These mushrooms only grow near the northern edge of the forest, Matthew. That's where I'd look for Bernadine. Bernadine is in the forest? But she doesn't like the countryside. She's not made for the nomadic life. We don't have a minute to lose, Matthew. We must come to Bernadine's aid. Bernadine, my darling, it's me, Arthur.
Good morning, sunshine. I'm Robin here. Away we go with the top stories.
Arthur, how did you find me? My darling, is that you? We need to talk.
I've always been honest, and I've always been unfiltered. Putting political correctness ahead of common sense is a recipe for disaster.
Why is she hiding in the forest?
It's time to be civilly instead of pretending.
Senior Trooper Matthew, thank goodness it's you. I feared it was the Justice Corps who found me. Bernadine, my poor darling, I can barely recognize you. You're pale and famished and... Arthur, I never wanted you to see me like this. Why did you not heed my warning and stay away? Because I knew you still loved me. Look, I'll take you home. No, Arthur, I'm tired of hiding and living in fear. I'm going to surrender. Perchance Lawson will show mercy if I give myself up voluntarily.
Scientific proof.
Surrender? No, darling, you can't. Haven't you heard? Lawson's going to execute all his political opponents. You'll be walking into your death. But what am I to do? The Justice Corps have already taken everything I had. If I don't give myself up, they'll find me.
7 months after Florence's death.
My dear Bernadine, I promise I'll do whatever it takes so that you won't come to any harm.
There's no question if you want to
Well, at least I'll be by your side until the end, Arthur. Senior Trooper Matthew, take the last of my money and use it to make a brave stand against Lawson.
No case against him.
There is not one single eyewitness to anything. There are no confessions. There are no fingerprints.
Matthew, I heard about your plan to overthrow Lawson and save us political prisoners. I'm so relieved. I just hope it works. If anything happened to Catherine,
and pushed her over the rail.
Nothing will happen to her, I promise you. We will take Lawson away in irons, and nobody is going to be executed. Matthew, we'd better get some rest now. In 2 days, we'll take our final stand against Lawson and bring justice back to Concordia. Once more, unto the breach.
He was probably surprised to learn that Florence was still alive. So he pushed her into the lake, where she drowned. But he didn't realize the size of the blood stain on the boat launch and the repair neurons in Florence's brain. Both told the story. In an attempt to make it look like an accident, Mark kicked the railing with his right foot, transferring paint to the tip of his shoe. And where he kicked the railing was inconsistent with the location of the body.
He had every opportunity to call for help. He never did. He let her lay there. And after thinking about what to do after some time, he premeditated it.
59. 2 more cases. January 4th, 2018. So we'll get the first case of the new year next Thursday.
Murder and sentenced to life without parole. His head snapped back when the verdict was read. He was shocked at the verdict. He anticipated going home that day. Florence's parents said her death should never have happened. While my daughter's death is a tragic and unnecessary event, I think there's a lesson to be learned. And that a woman who is going through a divorce
3 new stickers.
with her estranged husband, unless it's absolutely necessary, and then witnesses present. And even though it might be the lawyer, and even if there's no history
Another 5.
of mental illness, divorce is a very volatile situation, and it is better to err on the side of caution, because even casual contact could result in a dangerous or life-threatening event.
That's going to do. We'll take a look at where these stickers ended up in. Or what cases, anyway. Case 2, 8, 12.
Grief is permanent.
And that's for every single minute.
13, 14, 15. Or 13, 15, 16 rather. 20.
Hunger almost
30.
with murder. Only
36.
analysis of brain tissue and his shoes ensured.
38, 39, 42.
How he could think that he was going to get away with it, I can't imagine.
Being able to establish that Florence was alive for an extended period of time before she was placed in the morgue, because it was crucial. Very important.
It was a
47.
reminder that
the last case, or one of the last cases, 51, and that's it.
Up next,
See you all on January 4th. We'll see you all then, where we will overthrow Justin Lawson. And we'll see you all later.
Was this an accident or murder? His story was inconsistent with reality.